Imagine standing before a living being that sprouted from the earth centuries before the Great Pyramids were even built. These are the ancient trees, the silent witnesses of our planet's long and complex biological history. In the field of dendrology, a tree is often formally classified as ancient once it has passed its chronological maturity and entered a stage of senescence. If you find this exploration of the natural world soothing, please consider subscribing to support more science for sleep. While a human life expectancy currently averages around 73 years globally, certain individual trees in the White Mountains of California have survived for over 4,800 years. This temporal disconnect means that a single organism can experience the rise and fall of entire civilizations while barely adding a few inches to its girth. The Great Basin bristlecone pine, specifically the specimen known as Methuselah, was already 1,000 years old when the Trojan War was fought. Dendrochronologists distinguish between ancient trees and veteran trees based on their specific life stage rather than a fixed number of years. A veteran tree might be relatively young but displays characteristics of an older specimen, such as a hollow trunk or a complex crown structure. Ancient trees are defined by having surpassed the typical lifespan for their species, often surviving in a state of slow-motion decay and simultaneous renewal. Our journey through these botanical chronicles spans from the fog-drenched coasts of North America to the temperate rainforests of Tasmania. In the southern hemisphere, the Huan pine can live for 3 millennia, though its growth is so glacial that it may only increase in diameter by a few millimeters each decade. These organisms do not follow the same senescence patterns as mammals. They lack a programmed cellular death at the end of a fixed period. Many of the oldest trees on Earth exist in high-altitude, resource-poor environments where slow growth is a survival strategy. In these harsh conditions, the dense wood produced by slow growth becomes highly resistant to the fungi and insects that typically claim younger, faster-growing specimens. The Pando colony in Utah represents a different form of longevity, consisting of 47,000 genetically identical quaking aspens sharing a single root system. This massive organism is estimated by many researchers to be at least 80,000 years old, though its individual trunks rarely live beyond a century. Establishing the age of these giants often requires core sampling, a process where a small, pencil-thin cylinder of wood is extracted to count annual growth rings. This scientific discipline allows us to reconstruct past climates, as the width of each ring reveals the temperature and rainfall patterns of a specific year in the distant past. Do you remember the oldest tree you ever saw in person during a childhood trip or a walk in the woods? Understanding these spans of deep time helps us frame our own history within the much larger context of the natural world. This continuity of life is made possible by a biological phenomenon known as negligible senescence. In the animal kingdom, aging is generally viewed as an inevitable decline in physiological function, but certain tree species appear to be exempt from this rule. When a tree exhibits negligible senescence, its probability of dying does not increase with its chronological age. This means that, from a strictly internal perspective, a 3,000-year-old tree is often as healthy and reproductively capable as it was in its first century of life. The secret behind this endurance lies in the way trees manage their cellular replication. In human biology, telomeres, the protective tips of our chromosomes, shorten with every cell division, eventually leading to cellular senescence and death. Trees, however, possess remarkably active telomerase enzymes in their meristematic tissues. This allows their cells to maintain the length of these genetic caps indefinitely, effectively resetting the biological clock with every new layer of growth. While our own cells eventually lose the ability to divide accurately, the cambium of an ancient tree remains youthful and precise. Maintaining such high genetic stability over thousands of years is a feat of molecular engineering. As the tree expands, it must replicate its entire genetic code billions of times without allowing errors to accumulate. Trees have evolved high-fidelity DNA polymerases and robust repair mechanisms that constantly monitor the genome for damage caused by UV radiation or environmental stress. Research published in Nature Communications suggests that the mutation rate in long-lived trees is significantly lower than expected, ensuring that the instructions for life remain uncorrupted across the centuries. Beyond their genetic resilience, trees employ a modular growth strategy that differs fundamentally from the integrated organs of mammals. If a human heart or lung fails, the entire organism perishes. However, if a branch or a section of a tree's root system dies, the rest of the organism can continue to thrive. This compartmentalization allows the tree to shed damaged or diseased parts while continuing to produce fresh, vibrant tissue. It is a form of decentralized survival that makes the concept of old age almost irrelevant to the tree's internal logic. Despite this internal immortality, trees are still bound by the physical realities of their environment. Biological immortality does not protect a Great Basin bristlecone pine from a lightning strike or a catastrophic multi-decade drought. They must also contend with the sheer physics of their size. As a tree grows taller, the energy required to transport water against the pull of gravity increases exponentially. Eventually, the mechanical limits of wood or the constraints of hydraulic architecture may lead to a tree's demise, even if its cells are still perfectly healthy. Do you find comfort in the idea that some living things are designed to endure far beyond the limits of a single human lifetime? This tension between internal cellular perfection and external environmental chaos is what defines the long, silent struggle of the world's oldest inhabitants. Water must move from the deep, damp soil to the highest needles of a redwood, often hundreds of feet above the ground, against the relentless pull of gravity. This feat is achieved without a mechanical pump, relying instead on the elegant physics of the cohesion tension theory. Within the xylem, intricate pipelines composed of specialized dead cells, water molecules cling to one another through the strength of hydrogen bonding. As a single molecule evaporates from a leaf pore or stoma during the process of transpiration, it pulls the molecule immediately behind it. This creates a continuous, unbreakable chain of liquid stretching from the root hairs to the canopy. This tension generates a massive amount of negative pressure, effectively sucking water upward through the tree's interior. To withstand these crushing internal forces, the walls of the xylem are reinforced with lignin, a complex organic polymer that provides the structural rigidity necessary to prevent the tubes from collapsing inward. Capillary action further assists this ascent, as the adhesion between water molecules and the cellulose of the cell walls helps the liquid climb the narrow diameters of the vascular tissue. It is a silent, hydraulic miracle that functions perfectly for centuries, powered entirely by the energy of the sun as it drives evaporation at the leaf surface. Calculations in botanical physics suggest there is a hard theoretical ceiling to how high a tree can actually grow, regardless of its age or the nutrients available. At roughly 122 to 130 meters, the gravitational potential and the frictional resistance within the xylem become too great for the tension to overcome. At this height, the water column is under such extreme stress that it reaches its physical limit. Any further upward movement would cause the water to vaporize or the leaves to lose their ability to pull moisture effectively. This is why even the most ancient coast redwoods eventually stop their skyward climb and begin to grow outward, thickening their trunks and expanding their massive branch systems instead. The greatest threat to this delicate hydraulic system is the formation of an embolism, which occurs when a tiny air bubble breaks the continuity of the water column. In times of extreme drought or sudden freezing, the tension in the xylem can become so intense that air is pulled through the microscopic pores of the cell walls. These bubbles act like a blockage in a human artery, stopping the flow of life-sustaining water to the branches above. Ancient trees have evolved sophisticated redundancy systems to manage these crises, utilizing pits or valve-like structures that can seal off a damaged tracheid or vessel and reroute the water through neighboring, functional pathways. There is a fundamental difference in the vascular architecture of different tree lineages that dictates their long-term survival strategies. Gymnosperms, the group containing ancient conifers, rely on narrow, tapered cells called tracheids which are highly efficient at preventing the spread of air bubbles. This conservative design is a primary reason why many of the world's oldest individual trees are conifers. They prioritize hydraulic safety over sheer speed. Do you ever find yourself noticing the subtle differences in leaf shape or bark texture while walking through a quiet park? In contrast, angiosperms, or flowering trees, evolved wider vessel elements that act like high-speed pipes, allowing for rapid growth and high metabolic activity but leaving them more vulnerable to hydraulic failure during environmental stress. This ancient engineering determines which species will endure for millennia and which will flourish briefly before succumbing to the elements. The vascular cambium acts as a microscopic engine of perpetual renewal, a thin sheath of unspecialized cells situated just beneath the protective bark. Each spring, as the soil warms and chemical signals trigger a return to metabolic activity, these cells divide with rhythmic precision to produce new layers of xylem and phloem. This process creates the concentric circles we recognize as growth rings, which serve as a high-fidelity biological record of the forest's history. The lighter, wider portion of a ring represents earlywood, formed when water is typically abundant and vessels must be large to transport massive volumes of sap to emerging leaves. As the season wanes and resources become scarce, the tree produces latewood, characterized by smaller, thicker-walled cells that provide structural density and appear darker to the naked eye. Within these cellular archives, trees function as the ultimate historians of our planet's shifting climate. A narrow ring might signal a year of extreme drought, while an unusually wide one records a season of temperate abundance. More impressively, chemical signatures trapped within the cellulose can pinpoint the exact year of a distant volcanic eruption or a specific shift in atmospheric carbon levels. Dendrochronologists use these patterns to cross-date timber, often linking living trees with ancient structures to create a continuous timeline stretching back thousands of years. Have you ever touched the rough bark of a very old tree and wondered what hidden stories were etched into its core during your own childhood? As the tree matures, the older xylem at the center of the trunk undergoes a profound chemical transformation to become heartwood. This central pillar is technically dead, no longer participating in the transport of water or nutrients. Instead, it is infused with tannins, resins, and oils that darken the wood and provide a natural resistance to fungal decay and insect infestation. Surrounding this stoic core is the sapwood, the living, active plumbing system of the tree that maintains the essential hydraulic connection between the roots and the canopy. While the sapwood manages the fluid dynamics of the present, the heartwood provides the mechanical strength required to support the weight of a massive, reaching crown. Surprisingly, the death of the heartwood does not spell the end for an ancient giant. In many species, such as the English yew or the coast redwood, the heartwood can rot away entirely due to fungal activity, leaving a hollow shell that remains remarkably stable. Because the tree's life-sustaining tissues, the cambium, phloem, and active xylem, are concentrated in the outer few inches of the trunk, a hollow tree can continue to grow and photosynthesize for centuries. The cylindrical shape of the remaining wood provides enough structural integrity to withstand powerful winds, proving that the tree's true strength lies not in a solid center, but in its ability to adapt and maintain its living perimeter. This biological resilience allows some individuals to outlast the very climate cycles they recorded in their youth, standing as hollow, living cathedrals. Beneath the floor of these cathedrals lies a hidden complexity that rivals the neural pathways of the human brain. This subterranean architecture is built upon a partnership between tree roots and microscopic fungal threads known as mycelium. Through a symbiotic relationship called mycorrhiza, these organisms have formed a biological alliance that has persisted for nearly 500 million years. While the tree produces sugar through photosynthesis in its canopy, it lacks the specialized enzymes needed to extract certain minerals from the soil. The fungi, conversely, are masters of mining phosphorus and nitrogen but cannot harvest energy from the sun. By weaving themselves into the very cells of the tree's roots, the fungi provide these essential nutrients in exchange for a steady supply of carbon-rich sugars. Think about the soil beneath your feet next time you walk through a wooded area. Do you ever wonder how much activity is happening in the dark spaces between the grains of dirt? This exchange is not merely a localized trade but part of a vast, interconnected system often referred to as the wood wide web. In this intricate web, the oldest and largest individuals act as mother trees, serving as the central hubs of the entire forest community. These ancient giants possess the most extensive root systems and are connected to hundreds of other trees of various ages and species. Research led by ecologists like Suzanne Samar has demonstrated that mother trees can actually identify their own kin through distinct chemical signatures. When a sapling struggles in the deep shade of the forest floor, the mother tree can redirect a portion of her own sugar reserves through the mycelial network to sustain it. This targeted support ensures the next generation has a chance to reach the canopy, turning the forest from a collection of individuals into a cooperative superorganism. The flow of resources is dynamic, shifting throughout the seasons to wherever the need is greatest. Beyond the transfer of physical nutrients, the network serves as a high-speed communication channel for chemical signaling. When a tree is attacked by bark beetles or aphids, it releases specific compounds into the soil matrix that act as an early warning system. Neighboring trees receive these signals and immediately begin producing bitter tannins or defensive toxins to ward off the impending threat before the insects even arrive. This biological internet even allows for interspecies cooperation, such as the documented exchange between paper birch and Douglas fir trees. During different times of the year, these two species take turns supporting one another, ensuring the stability of the entire ecosystem. It is a quiet, rhythmic pulse of life that makes for some of the most fascinating, relaxing facts for those who enjoy bedtime listening. Even in death, the ancient tree continues to participate in this communal dialogue. As a giant begins to fail, it often offloads its remaining phosphorus and carbon into the network, passing its legacy to the surrounding saplings and fungi. This ensures that even when the physical structure of the tree finally collapses, its energy remains within the living system. Science for sleep often focuses on the stillness of nature, but the underground reality is one of constant, vibrant motion. In a single teaspoon of healthy forest soil, there can be several miles of fungal filaments working in tandem with the roots. These networks are highly sensitive to environmental changes and can be disrupted by heavy machinery or excessive chemical fertilizers, which sever the delicate links. Understanding this hidden world changes how we view the forest, moving away from a model of pure competition toward one of profound mutualism. The ancient trees we admire are not solitary icons, but the visible crowns of an invisible, intelligent society that manages the health of the land through a complex web of shared resources and chemical whispers. While they appear passive, ancient trees possess an arsenal of biochemical weaponry designed to repel invaders and seal wounds. This chemical agility is a biological necessity for an organism that cannot flee from its predators. When a herbivore begins to consume its foliage, the tree responds by flooding its tissues with tannins. These bitter-tasting polyphenol bind to the proteins in the predator's digestive tract, making the leaves essentially indigestible and often toxic. Beyond simple deterrence, trees utilize terpenes to create a hostile environment for encroaching fungi and boring insects. These compounds are responsible for the sharp, refreshing scent of a pine forest, yet for a bark beetle, they are potent neurotoxins. Have you ever noticed how the scent of a forest changes after a heavy rain or a period of high heat? This atmospheric shifts often correlate with the release of these protective volatile organic compounds. In the event of a physical breach, the tree employs resins and gums as a secondary line of defense. These sticky substances function as both a physical barrier and a chemical disinfectant, trapping pathogens before they can reach the vulnerable sapwood. Over millions of years, this process has become so effective that we still find ancient insects perfectly preserved in fossilized resin, or amber, today. Perhaps most remarkable is the tree's ability to call for external reinforcements through the release of specific volatile organic compounds into the air. When certain caterpillars begin to feed, the tree identifies the specific chemical signature of the insect's saliva. It then emits a precise aromatic signal that serves as a beacon for predatory wasps. These wasps, attracted by the scent, arrive to deposit their eggs inside the caterpillars, effectively neutralizing the threat to the tree. This sophisticated communication network allows a single tree to protect not only itself but its neighbors by alerting them to the presence of an active threat. This allows nearby trees to begin producing defensive chemicals before they are even touched. If a pathogen manages to penetrate these chemical barriers, the tree relies on a structural strategy known as compartmentalization of decay in trees, or CODIT. Pioneered by biologist Alex Shigo, this theory explains that trees do not heal in the way animals do. Instead, they seal. They create 4 distinct chemical and physical walls to isolate the infected area. The first 3 walls attempt to slow the spread of decay within the existing wood, while the 4th wall, the most powerful, is formed by the cambium to ensure that any new wood grown is entirely separate from the rot. This allows a 1,000-year-old oak to lose a massive limb or suffer a hollow trunk while maintaining its structural integrity and vitality. By sacrificing parts of its own body to the fungi, the ancient tree ensures that the core of its being remains protected, turning a potential death sentence into a localized scar that it will carry for centuries. High above the clouds in the White Mountains of California and throughout the desolate reaches of the Great Basin, the Great Basin bristlecone pine occupies a realm where life should theoretically struggle to exist. These peaks are characterized by thin air, unrelenting winds, and an arid climate that mimics a high-altitude desert. In this stark environment, the trees do not grow tall or lush. Instead, they twist into gnarled, sculptural forms that resemble living driftwood more than traditional timber. The secret to their incredible longevity lies within the very cells of their wood, which is exceptionally dense and saturated with a high concentration of resin. This chemical composition makes the wood nearly impenetrable to the fungi and wood-boring insects that typically decompose trees in more temperate forests. Even after a bristlecone dies, its skeleton may remain standing for thousands of years, slowly eroding under the abrasive force of wind-blown ice and sand like stone rather than rotting away into the forest floor. Survival in these harsh conditions requires a radical departure from the rapid expansion seen in lower elevation species. The bristlecone pine adopts a strategy of extreme patience, often waiting decades for the right environmental conditions to add even a single millimeter of width to its growth rings. Have you ever noticed how time seems to slow down when you are surrounded by the profound stillness of a high-altitude wilderness? During years of severe drought or intense cold, the tree may choose not to add any visible growth at all, entering a state of physiological suspended animation to conserve its limited energy reserves. This metabolic conservatism allows the tree to maintain a positive energy balance over centuries, ensuring that it never outpaces the resources provided by its environment. These growth rings serve as a high-resolution archive of the Earth's climate, offering scientists a window into the weather patterns of the last 5 millennia. The choice of substrate is perhaps the most fascinating aspect of their survival, as they predominantly colonize outcroppings of dolomite. This alkaline, calcium-magnesium carbonate rock is nutritionally poor and reflects much of the sun's heat, making it inhospitable for almost all other plant life. Because the bristlecone can tolerate the high pH and low nutrient levels of dolomite, it effectively eliminates competition for space and sunlight, creating a monoculture of ancients. By thriving where others cannot, these trees have become some of the oldest individual organisms on Earth, with specimens like Methuselah verified to be over 4,800 years old. Researchers at the University of Arizona's Laboratory of Tree-ring Research have utilized these ancient specimens to calibrate carbon-14 dating methods, providing a reliable historical record that extends back through millennia of climatic shifts. This unique intersection of geology and biology demonstrates that sometimes the most enduring life forms are those that choose the path of most resistance. Andrew Ellicott Douglas, an astronomer at the University of Arizona in the early 20th century, pioneered the formal study of tree rings while searching for a terrestrial record of solar cycles. He noticed that the width of the rings in ponderosa pines mirrored the availability of annual moisture, creating a biological ledger of regional climate. This observation gave birth to dendrochronology, a field that treats the vascular cambium of a tree as a high-resolution data recorder. By comparing the patterns of wide and narrow rings across different specimens, Douglas developed the technique of cross-dating. This process involves matching the signature growth patterns of living trees with those of older, dead wood found in historical structures or preserved in peat bogs. Scientists have meticulously bridged these overlaps to construct master chronologies that stretch back over 12,000 years into the past. One of the most significant sequences, the Hohenheim oak and pine chronology from Germany, covers the entire Holocene epoch with year-to-year precision. This remarkable resolution allowed researchers to identify a systematic error in early radiocarbon dating. Because the concentration of atmospheric carbon-14 fluctuates over time, the radiocarbon years did not always align perfectly with calendar years. By testing wood of known ages from tree ring sequences, experts recalibrated the carbon clock, transforming our understanding of Neolithic and Bronze Age archaeology. Beyond climate and dating, tree rings serve as a forensic record of cosmic events that would otherwise be lost to history. In 2012, physicist Fusha Miyake discovered a sharp spike in carbon-14 levels within cedar rings dating specifically to the year 774 AD. These Miyake events, as they are now known, represent massive bursts of cosmic radiation, likely from extreme solar storms or distant supernovae. The precision is so absolute that we can see exactly when the Earth was bathed in these high-energy particles. When you look at the rings of an ancient specimen, do you find yourself wondering which specific year in your own life might leave the most permanent mark on the world? The wood also preserves evidence of volcanic eruptions, such as the massive 1628 BC eruption of Thera, which left frost rings in Irish oaks and bristlecone pines. These distinct anomalies occur when a sudden drop in temperature causes the water inside the tree's cells to freeze, distorting the cell walls mid-growth. Every scar and every thinning of a ring tells a story of survival against the elements. By synthesizing these biological records with modern satellite data from 2025 and 2026, climatologists continue to refine our models of long-term environmental change. This practice requires the extraction of a core sample, a thin cylinder of wood no wider than a pencil, which allows the tree to remain standing and healthy. Once the sample is mounted and sanded to a high polish, the cellular structures become visible under a microscope. Each ring consists of early wood, produced during the rapid growth of spring, and late wood, which is denser and darker as the season ends. This rhythmic pulse of life ensures that as long as a tree stands, it continues to witness and record the history of our atmosphere. The White Mountains of California hold a living secret that bridges the gap between the ancient world and our present day. Deep within this high-altitude wilderness stands a great basin bristlecone pine known as Methuselah, an organism that has been growing since before the completion of the Great Pyramid of Giza. According to the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research at the University of Arizona, Methuselah is verified to be over 4,850 years old. Its exact location remains one of the most closely guarded secrets in the botanical world, as the United States Forest Service maintains a policy of anonymity for the tree to prevent the risk of human-caused damage or vandalism. For decades, this specific tree was regarded as the oldest non-clonal living thing on Earth, until a 2012 study identified another bristlecone in the same region that has reached the staggering age of 5,060 years. Do you remember the oldest tree you've ever touched, perhaps feeling the rough texture of history beneath your fingertips? The reverence we hold for Methuselah today is largely born from a tragedy that occurred on Wheeler Peak in Nevada. In 1964, a researcher named Donald Russ Curry was studying the movement of glaciers during the Holocene era and sought to date the surrounding environment using tree rings. He chose a massive bristlecone pine known locally as Prometheus. During his investigation, Curry's specialized increment borer became stuck and eventually broke inside the trunk of the ancient tree. With the permission of the Forest Service, Prometheus was cut down so its cross-section could be retrieved and studied in a laboratory setting. It was only after the tree was felled that the scientific community realized the magnitude of the loss. The ring count of Prometheus revealed it was at least 4,862 years old, making it the oldest recorded tree at that time. If the innermost rings had not been eroded by the harsh mountain winds, some estimates suggest it could have exceeded 5,000 years of life. This sacrifice, however unintentional, provided a master chronology that fundamentally changed our understanding of the climate's history. The wood from Prometheus offered a pristine record of the Little Ice Age, a period of global cooling that lasted roughly from the 14th to the 19th century. Narrow, dense rings in the wood align perfectly with sulfur deposits found in polar ice cores, confirming that major volcanic eruptions likely triggered these centuries of colder temperatures. This event led to a profound ethical shift in the field of botany and forest management. The public outcry following the death of Prometheus was a primary catalyst for the eventual establishment of Great Basin National Park in 1986. Modern researchers now prioritize the survival of the organism over the extraction of physical samples, utilizing high-resolution X-ray technology and resistograph drills that measure resistance without leaving large wounds. There is a quiet dignity in the way these trees endure. Their wood so dense and saturated with resin that it resists rot and insect infestation for millennia. Even after death, the skeletons of these trees can remain standing for another 2,000 years, haunting the ridges as silvered monuments to time. These ghost trees continue to provide data through their preserved rings, showing us that even in stillness, they are never truly silent. This endurance is facilitated by a biological marvel known as sectorial architecture, a strategy where the tree stops behaving as a single unified organism and begins functioning as a collection of independent, autonomous units. In ancient conifers like the bristlecone pine, the vascular system is not a communal pool of nutrients but a series of strictly partitioned pipes. This means that the tree's plumbing, the xylem and phloem, is organized into vertical sectors that do not communicate with one another laterally. If a single root is crushed by a falling rock or withered by a localized patch of dry soil, only the specific branch connected to that root will perish. The rest of the tree remains unaffected, insulated from the localized trauma by its own compartmentalized design. This survival mechanism leads to the striking visual phenomenon known as strip barking. As the tree faces the brutal realities of high-altitude life, it may allow 90% of its bark and living tissue to die off, retreating into a single, narrow ribbon of life that snakes up the side of an otherwise dead trunk. This thin strip of cambium remains protected, carrying water and minerals from a few healthy roots to a solitary cluster of green needles at the very top. by shedding its excess weight and reducing its living biomass, the tree dramatically lowers its metabolic tax. It no longer needs to provide energy for a massive circumference of living cells, focusing all its meager resources on maintaining that one vital lifeline. Have you ever found yourself tracing the grain of a piece of wood and wondering about the specific path the water took to reach the highest leaf? The resulting forms are nothing short of monumental. Because the dead wood of these trees is so dense and resinous, it does not rot. Instead, it is slowly eroded by wind-driven ice and sand over thousands of years. This process of wind sculpting polishes the dead sections into smooth, amber-colored spires that twist in response to the tree's spiral grain. Scientists have observed that this spiral growth may provide extra structural integrity against the relentless mountain gales, allowing the tree to flex without snapping. In these high alpine environments, the living strip of bark is often found on the leeward side of the trunk, tucked away from the prevailing winds like a traveler huddling behind a stone wall. This sectorial arrangement ensures that even if the majority of the tree appears to be a bleached, silver skeleton, the internal engine of the organism continues to hum. The tree essentially becomes a minimalist, surviving on the absolute bare essentials while the ghosts of its past selves provide the structural support necessary to keep its living crown reaching toward the light. Stand at the base of a coast redwood and you are standing before a living pillar of deep geological time. These giants define the very limits of biological possibility. Known scientifically as Sequoia sempervirens, these trees are the sole living species of their genus and represent a lineage that has persisted since the age of the dinosaurs. If you find these relaxing facts helpful for winding down, feel free to subscribe for more science-based bedtime listening. They thrive exclusively within the temperate rainforest biome, a narrow, rugged strip of land stretching from central California to southern Oregon. This specific environment provides the consistent high humidity and cool, stable temperatures necessary to sustain such massive metabolic demands. One of their most specialized evolutionary adaptations is the ability to bypass their root systems and absorb water directly through their needles from the heavy coastal fog. Researchers have discovered that during the dry summer months, this fog drip can provide more than 40% of the tree's annual water supply. This aerial hydration system allows the redwood to maintain turgor pressure at heights where gravity would otherwise make hydraulic water transport from the ground physically impossible. When you consider the sheer vertical scale of these organisms, have you ever wondered what it would feel like to stand beneath a canopy nearly 40 stories high? The bark of an ancient coast redwood can grow to be 12 inches thick, acting as a dense, fibrous shield against the intense heat of forest fires. Unlike many other conifers that contain highly flammable resins, redwood bark is saturated with tannins which naturally repel both wood-boring insects and creeping flames. Low-intensity ground fires are actually vital to the health of the redwood forest, as they clear out competing shade-tolerant vegetation and return essential nutrients to the forest floor. In the upper reaches of the canopy, centuries of accumulated needles and organic debris create canopy soil that supports entirely independent ecosystems of ferns, lichens, and even small salamanders that may never touch the ground. The discovery of a specimen named Hyperion in 2006 reset our understanding of botanical height limits, standing as the tallest known living tree at over 380 feet. To protect the fragile root system and surrounding undergrowth from human impact, The exact location of Hyperion remains a closely guarded secret within the depths of Redwood National Park. These titans do not only grow from seeds the size of a tomato flake, they also possess the remarkable ability to reproduce through cloning. When a parent tree is injured or falls, a ring of genetically identical saplings, often referred to as a fairy ring, may sprout from the dormant buds located in the massive burls at its base. The complexity of their root systems is equally fascinating, as they rarely grow more than 12 feet deep but spread out over 100 feet horizontally. These roots interlock with the roots of neighboring redwoods, creating a communal subterranean web that provides collective stability against the powerful Pacific gales. Even in death, a fallen redwood serves as a nurse log, providing a nutrient-rich platform for new life to take hold for several centuries. This cycle ensures that while individual trunks may eventually succumb to time, the forest itself remains an immortal, interconnected entity. Thank you for spending this time learning about the quiet strength of the natural world. If you enjoy exploring these hidden wonders, consider subscribing to join our next quiet exploration of the cosmos. May your curiosity continue to grow as steadily as the ancient redwoods. High above the forest floor, a secret geography exists where the boundary between earth and air dissolves into something entirely unexpected. In the uppermost reaches of the coast redwoods, ancient limbs act as cradles for massive accumulations of organic matter known as canopy soil mats. These aerial landscapes form over centuries as needles, dust, and organic debris settle into the deep crotches of massive branches, eventually decomposing into a rich, dark peat. Some of these mats have been measured at over a meter deep, suspended 300 feet in the sky, providing a stable foundation for life far removed from the terrestrial ground. It is a startling realization that a single tree can support several tons of earth within its own crown, creating a perched floor for a world that never touches the forest floor. Within these suspended islands of soil, life thrives in forms rarely seen by those walking the trails below. Wandering salamanders, known scientifically as Anides vagrants, spend their entire lives in the canopy, navigating the moist crevices of the bark and the damp interior of the soil mats. Recent observations confirm these amphibians can actually leap from branches, using their bodies to parachute and glide safely to lower levels if they are disturbed. Alongside them, tiny crustaceans called copepods, which are usually associated with aquatic environments, inhabit the microscopic films of water held by mosses and ferns. Do you ever find yourself wondering how much life might be hidden just out of sight in the quiet places you pass every day? Thousands of epiphytic plants, including leatherleaf ferns and even huckleberry bushes, sprout directly from these high-altitude branches, drawing their entire existence from the nutrients trapped in the sky. This vertical complexity is furthered by a biological phenomenon known as reiteration, where the tree essentially clones its own structure within its own canopy. When a massive branch is damaged or reaches a certain developmental stage, it may begin to grow vertically, developing its own secondary trunk, limbs, and foliage. These reiterated trunks can become so large that they resemble a forest of individual trees standing on the back of a single ancient giant. This structural redundancy allows the tree to maximize its photosynthetic surface area, capturing every stray beam of sunlight that filters through the coastal mist. Studying these high-altitude microhabitats requires specialized techniques borrowed more from professional mountaineering and engineering than traditional botany. Researchers often use crossbows or line launchers to propel ropes over sturdy limbs, establishing a vertical highway that allows them to ascend into the redwood sea with minimal impact on the fragile ecosystems. Once aloft, scientists may spend several days suspended in the canopy, utilizing laser scanning and microsensors to map the moisture levels and temperature gradients of this unique environment. This high-wire science has revealed that the canopy is not just a collection of leaves, but a complex, multi-layered organism with its own internal weather patterns and nutrient cycles. As we look closer at these forests in the sky, the distinction between the tree and the environment it supports begins to fade. Every branch is an ecosystem, every trunk a corridor for a hidden world of specialists that have evolved to thrive in the clouds. If you find value in these quiet discoveries, consider subscribing to join our next exploration of the natural world's hidden depths. May your curiosity continue to reach as high as the canopy of the ancient woods. The General Sherman tree represents the absolute zenith of biological architecture, a living monument containing more wood than any other organism on the planet. Scientists estimate its volume at over 52,000 cubic feet, a figure that remains unmatched across the global landscape of flora. This single tree weighs roughly 4 million pounds, which is approximately the same as 15 blue whales or 24 fully loaded commercial airliners. If you enjoy learning about these massive marvels of nature, subscribing to the channel helps support our deep dives into the science of the wild. Such immense biomass is not just a result of age, but of a specialized evolutionary strategy that prioritizes girth and structural density over sheer vertical height. Survival for these giants depends on a paradox involving the very element most life forms fear. The giant sequoia is a pyrophytic species, meaning it has evolved to not only withstand fire but to require it for its continued existence. Its cones are serotinous, remaining tightly sealed by a hard resin that only melts when exposed to the intense heat of a forest floor fire. Once the heat triggers the release, thousands of tiny seeds fall into the nutrient-rich ash bed left behind by the flames. This ash provides a sterile, mineral-heavy soil that acts as the perfect nursery for seedlings that would otherwise struggle in the thick duff of the forest floor. Human history has long been intertwined with these fire-dependent cycles through the sophisticated land management of indigenous peoples. For thousands of years, tribes like the Tule River Yokuts practiced cultural burning to clear undergrowth and promote the health of the sequoia groves. These low-intensity fires prevented the buildup of massive fuel loads that could lead to the catastrophic crown fires we see in the modern era. Have you ever stood in a place where the history of the land felt so tangible that it changed your perspective on time? By mimicking natural lightning cycles, these early practitioners ensured that the giant sequoias had the open, sunlit spaces they needed to flourish across generations. Supporting millions of pounds of weight requires a mastery of physics that human engineers still study with great fascination. The base of a mature sequoia can exceed 30 feet in diameter, creating a wide, stable footprint that lowers the tree's center of gravity significantly. Surprisingly, these massive organisms do not possess deep taproots. Instead, they utilize a shallow, sprawling root system that extends out over 100 feet from the trunk. These roots often interlock with those of neighboring trees, creating a subterranean web of shared stability that prevents them from toppling during heavy winds. This collective grip on the earth allows the sequoia to remain upright for over 3,000 years, even as the soil shifts beneath them. The bark itself serves as a specialized armor, often growing up to 2 feet thick and lacking the flammable resins found in many other conifers. Rich in fibrous tannins, this outer layer provides a chemical defense against fungal rot and wood-boring insects that might compromise its structural integrity. Even when a fire manages to scar the trunk, the tree's vascular cambium works to heal the wound, often completely engulfing the charred section over several decades. This resilience ensures that the tree continues to add layers of cellulose and lignin year after year, building a pillar of carbon that stands as a testament to the enduring power of the Sierra Nevada. While the individual giants of the Sierra Nevada stand as solitary monuments to time, a different survival strategy exists beneath the soil of the Colorado Plateau. This method of existence relies on the clonal colony, a biological marvel where a single genetic individual replicates itself into an entire landscape. Unlike a standard forest where each tree begins its life as a unique seed, a clonal colony is a group of genetically identical stems, known as ramets, all originating from a single parent root system. This allows an organism to bypass the traditional limitations of aging and external trauma that eventually claims singular trees. The most profound example of this strategy is found in Utah's Fish Lake National Forest, where a quaking aspen grove named Pando dominates the terrain. Pando, a name derived from the Latin phrase for "I spread," is not merely a collection of trees but a single living entity. It covers approximately 106 acres and is comprised of roughly 47,000 individual trunks. While these trunks appear to be separate trees to the casual observer, they are all connected by an intricate, subterranean network of roots that serves as the organism's primary life force. Have you ever stood in a quiet place and felt as though the environment around you was watching and listening in a way you couldn't quite explain? In the early 1970s, a researcher named Burton Barnes first noticed that the physical characteristics of this specific grove remained perfectly consistent from one end to the other. Subsequent genetic testing in the 1990s confirmed that every leaf, branch, and root in the 106-acre expanse shared the exact same DNA. This discovery revealed that Pando is the heaviest known living organism on Earth, weighing an estimated 6,000 metric tons. For perspective, this mass is approximately 3 times heavier than the largest giant sequoia and more than 30 times the weight of a blue whale. The biology of the quaking aspen, or Populus tremuloides, is uniquely suited for this type of expansion. The trees are famous for their quaking leaves, which shimmer and dance even in the lightest breeze. This movement is caused by the flattened shape of the petioles, or leaf stems, which are set at right angles to the leaf blades. This physiological adaptation allows the canopy to reduce wind resistance while maximizing the amount of sunlight that reaches the lower leaves of the grove. Longevity in a clonal colony functions on a different timescale than in individual species. While an average aspen trunk may only live for 100 to 150 years before succumbing to rot or pests, the root system itself can endure for millennia. Scientists estimate that Pando is at least 14,000 years old, having established itself shortly after the retreat of the last glaciers. Some geologic models and growth rate studies suggest the root system could potentially be as old as 80,000 years. This would make Pando one of the oldest living things on our planet, having survived multiple climate shifts and ecological transitions. This vegetative reproduction, or suckering, ensures that as old trunks die, new shoots rise to take their place, maintaining a constant state of renewal. If you find value in these insights into our natural world, perhaps you might consider subscribing to join us for more. In this way, the trembling giant continues its silent, rhythmic expansion across the high desert plateau. High on the desolate, windswept plateau of Fulufjallet Mountain in Sweden, a single Norway spruce defies the conventional limits of biological mortality. This unassuming tree, known as Old Jikko, possesses a root system that carbon dating by scientists at Umeå University has confirmed to be 9,550 years old. While the visible trunk may only appear to be a few centuries old, the genetic individual beneath the soil has persisted since the end of the last ice age. This distinction is vital for understanding how certain flora achieve such extreme longevity through vegetative cloning. When the main trunk dies, the ancient root system simply sends up a new adventitious bud to replace it, a process that has repeated countless times across millennia. For the vast majority of its life, Old Jikko did not look like the towering spruce we recognize today. During the harsh climatic conditions of the early Holocene, the tree survived as a krummholz, a German term for crooked wood describing a low-lying, stunted shrub. By hugging the ground, the plant remained insulated beneath the winter snowpack, protected from the lethal, abrasive force of icy mountain winds. This survival strategy allowed the spruce to endure in a state of suspended architectural development while the world around it shifted. Have you ever encountered a landscape that felt as though it had remained unchanged for thousands of years? The transformation from a humble shrub into an upright, vertical tree is a relatively recent phenomenon driven by the warming climate of the 20th century. As temperatures on the Swedish tundra began to rise, the biological cues for the spruce changed, allowing a central leader to finally grow toward the sky without being sheared off by the frost. This shift serves as a living thermometer, recording the transition of our global climate within the very structure of its timber. Because the roots are so deep and established, they provide a stable reservoir of nutrients and energy that younger saplings simply do not possess. The discovery of Old Jikko in 2004 fundamentally altered our perception of how trees interact with time and environmental stress. It suggests that many high-altitude species may be far older than their physical size indicates, hiding their true history beneath the permafrost. These ancient organisms do not experience senescence in the same way mammals do. Their cells do not inherently program to fail after a set number of divisions. Instead, they exist in a state of perpetual potential, waiting for the right environmental window to expand. In the silence of the Swedish highlands, this spruce continues its slow, patient vigil, a bridge between the glacial past and our rapidly changing present. This enduring presence offers a unique perspective for those seeking science for sleep or a quiet moment of reflection on the resilience of life. Descending from the cold mountain peaks toward the sun-bleached hills of Riverside County, California, we find a different kind of botanical endurance. This is the home of the Jurupa oak, a colony of Palmer's oak that has occupied the same granite hillside for approximately 13,000 years. Unlike the towering giants of the north, this ancient life form presents itself as a low, sprawling thicket, easily mistaken for a collection of younger shrubs. Genetic testing has confirmed that every stem in this massive patch is identical, originating from a single seed that germinated while the last ice age was still relinquishing its grip on the continent. This specific colony is the only one of its kind in the area, standing as a relic of a much cooler, wetter era when its species was more widespread across the landscape. The Jurupa oak survives through a process of clonal regeneration that defies the traditional concept of a tree's lifespan. As the central older wood eventually succumbs to the elements, the plant pushes outward, sending up new sprouts from its expanding root system. This creates a circular growth pattern where the living edge of the colony is technically the same organism that existed when mastodons still roamed the nearby valleys. Have you ever encountered a landscape that felt like a living fossil during a quiet walk? This oak is a silent witness to the entire history of human civilization in North America, persisting through thousands of years of shifting climates and local geology. Deep within the Mojave Desert, another desert dweller utilizes this same circular strategy to achieve staggering longevity. The king clone creosote ring is a massive, horseshoe-shaped cluster of evergreen shrubs estimated to be 11,700 years old. Botanist Frank Vosek first identified this remarkable structure, realizing that the ring grew at a rate of roughly 1 millimeter per year. As the original central stem died back millennia ago, the radial expansion created a void in the middle, now filled with wind-blown sand and small desert stones. These scrub ancients are masters of physiological economy, thriving in environments where water is a rare luxury and temperatures reach punishing extremes. Their deep, intricate root systems are capable of extracting moisture from the driest soils, while their waxy leaves minimize transpiration. By growing low to the ground and spreading horizontally rather than vertically, they avoid the structural vulnerabilities of tall timber. They remind us that the most resilient life is often that which is willing to stay close to the earth, adapting to the heat with a slow, rhythmic patience. This patience finds its ultimate expression in the Unsonia, the genus comprising the iconic baobabs that define the African skyline. The baobab stands as a botanical outlier, often appearing as though it were plucked from the earth and shoved back in roots first. This distinctive silhouette serves a profound biological purpose, as the massive, swollen trunk functions more like a succulent than a traditional hardwood tree. Within that fibrous bark lies a sophisticated system of water-storing parenchyma tissue, capable of holding up to 120,000 liters of liquid. During the intense droughts of 2024 and 2025, researchers noted how these giants visibly contract, their circumferences shrinking as they deplete their internal reservoirs to sustain their foliage. Unlike the dense heartwood of an oak or a pine, the interior of a baobab is surprisingly soft and pulpy. This high water content provides the tree with a unique elasticity, allowing it to withstand the immense internal pressure of its own weight. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to touch bark that protects a literal lake hidden within a tree? As these trees age, they often develop into false galleries or hollow centers, but this isn't typically the result of decay. Instead, baobabs are frequently composed of multiple fused stems that grow in a ring, leaving an empty space in the middle that expands as the tree matures. This fusion process creates a singular, massive organism from several distinct vascular systems. This structural anomaly creates a microecosystem within the tree itself, providing shelter for a vast array of savanna life. The relationship between the baobab and the African elephant is particularly striking, as elephants use their tusks to strip the moisture-rich bark during the driest months. While this looks like destruction, the baobab possesses an incredible capacity for regeneration, often growing new bark over the gouges. At night, the tree reveals another secret. Its large, heavy white flowers open in the darkness, emitting a scent reminiscent of fermenting fruit. This fragrance is a specific invitation to fruit bats, which serve as the primary pollinators, flitting between the massive silhouettes under the moonlight to drink the nectar. Determining the exact age of a baobab has historically been a significant scientific challenge because they do not produce annual growth rings. In most trees, the alternating speed of growth between seasons leaves a clear chronological record, but the baobab's pulpy wood remains relatively uniform. To solve this, botanists rely on carbon-14 dating of samples taken from different parts of the multi-stem structure. Recent studies published throughout 2025 have used this method to confirm that some of the largest specimens are well over 2,000 years old. These ancient giants have lived through entire civilizations, yet their lack of traditional wood makes them strangely fragile in the face of rapid climate shifts. Because they are so reliant on their internal water pressure for structural integrity, extreme dehydration can cause a baobab to literally collapse under its own weight. We have seen several of the oldest known individuals across southern Africa succumb to this phenomenon in recent years, a process that happens with startling speed once the tipping point is reached. This vulnerability reminds us that even the most enduring symbols of strength are deeply tied to the delicate balance of their environment. By studying the isotopic signatures within their fibers, scientists are now uncovering a detailed history of rainfall patterns stretching back 2 millennia, turning these upside-down trees into living climate archives. Standing atop the limestone plateaus of Socotra, the Dracaena cinnabari appears as if it drifted from a distant planet, its thick, central trunk topped by a perfectly symmetrical umbrella of interlocking branches. This structural design is a masterpiece of specialized survival, serving as a primary mechanism for mist interception in an environment where moisture is a rare commodity. The canopy functions like a massive, organic net, catching droplets from low-hanging clouds that would otherwise pass over the island without ever touching the parched soil. These droplets consolidate on the surface of the stiff, waxy leaves and trickle down the branches toward the base of the tree, creating a self-watering system that nourishes the roots in an otherwise arid landscape. Beneath that dense shadow, the ground remains cool, preventing the precious water from evaporating before the tree can absorb it. Biologically, these ancient sentinels defy our standard definitions of a tree because they are monocots. While traditional oaks and pines are dicots or gymnosperms that expand their girth through a vascular cambium, the dragonblood tree is more closely related to lilies and grasses. It does not produce true wood in concentric rings, which presents a significant challenge for researchers trying to determine the age of these specimens. Instead of looking at internal layers, botanists often rely on the frequency of branching patterns to estimate their lifespan, which can easily span several centuries. Have you ever wondered what the landscape looked like when the oldest tree in your neighborhood was just a sapling? The most famous characteristic of this species is the thick, ruby-red resin that seeps from its trunk when the bark is damaged. This substance, known as dragon's blood, has been harvested for over 2,000 years and was documented by the naturalist Pliny the Elder as a valuable trade commodity in the ancient world. It was used as a vibrant red dye for textiles, a ritual incense, and a high-grade varnish for master-crafted musical instruments. Modern chemical analysis has revealed that the resin is rich in proanthocyanidins and antioxidants, lending scientific weight to its long history as a traditional treatment for healing wounds and soothing inflammation. Despite their resilience, these trees are now facing a period of significant vulnerability. The changing climate is reducing the frequency of the mists they depend on, and the slow growth cycle of just a few centimeters per decade makes it difficult for new seedlings to replace the giants that eventually succumb to the elements. The narrative of the Antarctic beach begins long before the continents assumed their current positions, tracing back to the supercontinent of Gondwana. This massive landmass once unified South America, Australia, and Antarctica into a single, vast cradle of biodiversity. We know this because the DNA of the Nothofagus genus acts as a biological map of plate tectonics, revealing a shared ancestry that defies modern geography. These trees didn't just appear in isolated pockets. They traveled across land bridges that have since been swallowed by the Southern Ocean. It is a staggering thought to realize that the ancestors of the trees standing in the mist-shrouded gullies of New South Wales today were once neighbors with species now found only in the Chilean Andes. Survival for Nothofagus murray is not merely about vertical growth but about structural persistence through a technique known as coppicing. When the primary trunk of an Antarctic beech becomes too heavy or succumbs to the weight of moss and age, it does not truly perish. Instead, the tree sends up a circle of new shoots from its base, creating a living ring of clones that surround the original center. Over centuries, the central trunk may rot away completely, leaving a hollow cathedral of daughter trees that share the exact same genetic identity as the original seedling. This strategy allows a single organism to occupy the same patch of earth for thousands of years, weathering shifts in humidity that would erase more fragile species. The physical evidence for this ancient lineage is preserved in the most inhospitable place on Earth, the frozen bedrock of Antarctica. Paleobotanists have unearthed fossilized leaves and pollen grains in the transantarctic mountains that are virtually indistinguishable from the living foliage of the modern Nothofagus. These fossils date back to the Pliocene, a time when Antarctica was not yet a total desert of ice but still held pockets of tundra and shrubland. Finding these relics in the ice confirms that the Antarctic beech is one of the few living threads that still connects our modern world to the green, forested past of the southern pole. Despite their name, these trees are not fast travelers, and their migration across geologic time is measured in the slow drift of tectonic plates rather than the wind. They are notoriously poor dispersers, with heavy seeds that tend to fall directly beneath the mother tree rather than catching the breeze. This lack of mobility means that the forests we see today in Australia are essentially living in the same locations where their ancestors stood millions of years ago. They have clung to the high, cool ridges as the rest of the continent dried out around them, serving as a biological memory of a wetter, colder world. Have you ever felt a sense of stillness while walking through a very old grove, as if the air itself was heavy with the weight of centuries? This stillness is the sound of a forest that has refused to move, even as the world shifted beneath its roots. Deep within the subtropical reaches of New Zealand's North Island stands the kauri, a conifer belonging to the ancient Araucariaceae family that first appeared during the Jurassic period. These trees are structural masterpieces of the botanical world, defined by a massive, cylindrical trunk that maintains its width from the base nearly to the crown. While many species struggle under the weight of hitchhiking vines, the cowrie has developed an ingenious biological strategy called self-pruning. By naturally shedding its lower branches as it grows, the tree creates a smooth, unclimbable surface that prevents epiphytes and parasitic plants from reaching its sunlight. Beneath the silver-gray bark lies a complex circulatory system that produces a thick, protective resin. This cowrie gum serves as the tree's primary defense against injury and insects, sealing wounds with a translucent, amber-like shield. For centuries, this substance was a cornerstone of local life, used by Maori for everything from fire starting to pigment for traditional tattooing. It is this intersection of biology and culture that elevates the cowrie from a mere plant to a sacred ancestor. The most famous of these giants is Tain Mahata, a living monument whose name translates to Lord of the Forest. Standing over 50 meters tall with a girth exceeding 13 meters, its presence is a physical link to a pre-human landscape. In Maori cosmology, Tain is the deity who separated the Sky Father and Earth Mother, an act that allowed life to flourish in the resulting space. When you stand at the base of such a titan, does it change the way you perceive the passage of time? Despite their immense size and historical resilience, these giants face a modern, microscopic adversary known as Phytophthora agathodicida. This soil-borne pathogen causes cowrie dieback, a disease that slowly starves the tree by destroying the tissues responsible for transporting water and nutrients. Because the disease spreads through the movement of even the smallest amount of soil, human intervention has become the tree's greatest risk and its only hope. Today, the preservation of these ancient groves relies on strict quarantine protocols and the implementation of high-tech footwear cleaning stations. Scientists and indigenous guardians work in tandem to monitor forest health, often closing entire regions to the public to prevent the accidental transfer of spores. To walk among them now is to follow a path of raised boardwalks designed to keep human weight off the shallow, sensitive feeder roots. This delicate balance of protection ensures that the cowrie continues to serve as the structural and spiritual backbone of the ecosystem. The cowrie's ability to survive for over 2,000 years is not just a feat of longevity, but a testament to its specialized adaptation to the temperate rainforest. Its wood is incredibly dense and rot-resistant, which unfortunately made it a primary target for timber during the colonial era. Yet, the remaining stands are now some of the most protected biological assets on the planet. By treating the forest floor as a sterile environment, we are learning to coexist with a species that measures its life in millennia rather than decades. Hidden within the labyrinthine sandstone gorges of the Blue Mountains, a botanical miracle waited in silence for millions of years. This survival story reached a turning point in 1994 when David Noble, an adventurous field officer, abseiled into a remote canyon just 200 kilometers from Sydney. He encountered a grove of towering trees with strange, fern-like foliage and bark that looked remarkably like bubbling chocolate. To the scientific community, this discovery was the equivalent of finding a living dinosaur roaming a modern valley. Until that afternoon in the mid-90s, the Woolemi pine, or Wollemia nobilis, was a ghost in the geological record. Paleontologists had long studied fossils of its ancestors, which were dominant during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, but the record went cold nearly 2 million years ago. Because it seemingly returned from the dead, scientists categorized it as a Lazarus taxon, a species that reappears after a massive temporal gap in the fossil record. The physical characteristics of these trees are as peculiar as their history, featuring a distinctive multi-stemmed growth habit. This means a single root system can support several trunks, a strategy that likely helped the species survive the collapse of the surrounding canopy over eons. Have you ever stood beneath a tree so old it seemed to possess its own gravitational pull? The bark of a mature woolly is thick and corky, providing a protective layer against the environmental shifts of a changing continent. Because the wild population consists of fewer than 100 mature individuals, the exact coordinates of the grove remain one of Australia's most closely guarded secrets. To enter the site, researchers must undergo rigorous decontamination protocols to prevent the introduction of soil-borne pathogens like Phytophthora cinnamomi. This water mold is a silent killer, capable of decimating an entire ancient lineage if even a single spore is carried in on a hiking boot. During the catastrophic bushfires of late 2019 and early 2020, the Australian government launched a specialized air tanker operation to douse the surrounding area with water and fire retardant. This emergency intervention prevented the flames from reaching the canyon floor, preserving a genetic line that has remained virtually unchanged for 90 million years. Interestingly, genetic testing has revealed that the wild trees are almost entirely identical, suggesting they have survived through a series of extreme population bottlenecks. This lack of diversity usually spells doom for a species, yet the woolly has persisted with stubborn endurance. Today, the woolly pine is no longer confined to its secret sanctuary, thanks to a global effort to distribute its seeds and cuttings to botanic gardens around the world. This strategy creates a biological insurance policy, ensuring that the species will persist even if a local disaster strikes the original canyon. The tree's ability to adapt to diverse climates, from frosty winters to humid summers, highlights the resilience of ancient gymnosperms. These trees produce both male and female cones on different branches of the same individual, a trait known as being monoecious. As you listen to these relaxing facts, consider how a single hidden canyon managed to shield a piece of the Jurassic era from the passage of time. The woolly pine reminds us that the Earth still holds profound mysteries, tucked away in the shadows where the light rarely reaches. While the woolly pine is a relic of a lost world, the ginkgo biloba stands as a singular, defiant masterpiece of evolutionary isolation. It is the only living representative of its entire division, the Ginkgophyta, meaning it has no close relatives in the modern botanical world. Biologically, the ginkgo is a lonely traveler from the Permian period, roughly 270 million years ago, predating the rise of the dinosaurs. Scientists often describe it as a bridge between the primitive ferns and the more advanced conifers, yet it remains distinctly its own creature. This tree has witnessed the shifting of tectonic plates and the extinction of countless other species, while its own morphology has remained remarkably unchanged for over 200 million years. This stability is so profound that the fossilized leaves from the Jurassic era are nearly indistinguishable from the fan-shaped leaves you might find on a modern city street. The endurance of the ginkgo is perhaps most poignantly demonstrated by its survival during the most catastrophic events of the 20th century. In 1945, when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, several ginkgo trees stood within a 2-kilometer radius of the hypocenter. While most life forms were instantly obliterated by the intense heat and pressure, these specific trees, known in Japan as Hibikujumoku, survived the blast. Despite suffering severe scorching and structural damage, They began to bud again the following spring, showing no genetic mutations. This extraordinary resilience is attributed to their dense, high-quality wood and a unique chemical arsenal that protects them from radiation and heat. Have you ever encountered a tree in your local park that felt like a quiet monument to such profound history? The reproductive cycle of the ginkgo is equally fascinating and archaic, maintaining a trait rarely seen in seed-bearing plants. They are dioecious, meaning individual trees are either strictly male or strictly female. The male trees produce pollen within small, catkin-like structures, but it is the fertilization process that truly separates them from most modern flora. Ginkgos utilize motile sperm, tiny, multiflagellated cells that must physically swim through a film of fluid to reach the ovule. This is an ancient reproductive strategy shared with ferns and mosses, a lingering whisper of a time when all plant life relied on water for fertilization. Once the female tree is fertilized, it produces a seed encased in a fleshy, fruit-like layer known as a sarcoptesta. This fleshy outer coating contains high concentrations of butyric acid, which emits a pungent, rancid odor that many find off-putting in urban environments. Despite this, the ginkgo is one of the most popular trees for city planting across the globe because it is virtually indestructible. It possesses a sophisticated immune system that makes it naturally resistant to fungal infections, wood-boring insects, and modern viral pathogens. Beyond its biological defenses, the ginkgo excels at thriving in the face of urban stress. It is remarkably tolerant of air pollution, compacted soil, and the high levels of salt used on winter roads. Because it can survive in conditions that would kill most other deciduous trees, it serves as a green lung in some of the most densely populated cities on Earth. Its fan-shaped leaves turn a brilliant, uniform saffron yellow in the autumn, creating a fleeting gold canopy before they all drop, often simultaneously, in a single day. While the ginkgo offers a glimpse into a prehistoric architectural resilience, the European yew, or Taxus baccata, introduces us to a strategy of biological immortality that feels almost supernatural. Every part of this tree, save for the fleshy red arils surrounding the seed, contains highly toxic alkaloids known as taxanes. These compounds are so potent that they function as a sophisticated defense mechanism against herbivores, yet in a remarkable twist of modern medicine, they provided the foundation for the chemotherapy drug paclitaxel. It is a strange duality to consider that the very molecules designed to halt life in the forest have become instrumental in extending it within our own hospitals. Perhaps you have walked past a yew in a quiet corner of a park and felt that stillness it seems to radiate. The yew does not merely grow. It reclaims itself through a process of internal collapse and outward expansion. As a yew ages, the central heartwood often rots away, leaving a hollow shell that would signify the end for most other species. However, the yew responds by sending aerial roots down through its own decaying center or dropping heavy outer branches until they touch the forest floor. Once these branches make contact with the earth, they take root and develop into entirely new trunks. This circular growth habit allows a single organism to migrate across a landscape over centuries, effectively walking in slow motion through the process of self-cloning. This ability to regenerate from its own wreckage explains why ancient yews are so frequently found in old churchyards across Europe. In many instances, the trees standing beside these stone structures are significantly older than the buildings themselves, some having taken root over 2,000 years ago. To the pre-Christian peoples of Britain and Gaul, the yew was a living manifestation of eternity, a bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors. They observed how the tree remained stubbornly green through the harshest winters and how it seemed to rise again from its own shadow. The density of yew wood is another marvel of its evolution, being incredibly heavy and resistant to decay, which made it the primary material for the longbows of the Middle Ages. This physical toughness, combined with its slow metabolic rate, allows the tree to endure for millennia. When we look at a yew that has survived since the Roman Empire, we are looking at an organism that has mastered the art of waiting. It does not rush toward the sun. It simply refuses to leave. This patience is reflected in its pollen, which travels on the wind in early spring, a golden dust that carries the genetic legacy of a tree that might still be standing when our own modern cities have returned to the earth. Do you find yourself drawn more to the trees that change with the seasons or those that remain steadfast and evergreen throughout the year? This persistence makes the yew a cornerstone of our natural history, representing a bridge between the deep past and an unimaginably distant future. The English oak offers a different kind of endurance, operating on a schedule that spans nearly a millennium of transformation. There is an old adage among foresters that an oak spends 300 years growing, 300 years living, and 300 years dying. This final stage, often viewed as a slow decline, is actually when the tree becomes most vital to the surrounding ecosystem as a structural anchor. As the heartwood softens over centuries, the process of hollowing begins, driven by specialized fungi like the beefsteak fungus that decompose the non-living interior of the trunk. This hollowing is not a sign of biological failure but a strategic shedding of internal weight that allows the tree to remain flexible and stable during high winds. Inside these dark, damp cavities, a hidden micro-world thrives, hosting rare beetles, roosting bats, and nesting owls that find sanctuary in the ancient wood. The red rot produced by various fungi creates a specific chemical environment required by the larvae of the rare violet click beetle, a species that exists almost nowhere else. Is there a particular tree from your childhood that felt like a secret fortress or a quiet guardian? In addition to providing permanent housing for thousands of organisms, oaks are masters of a reproductive phenomenon known as masting. During a mast year, every oak across a massive geographic region will simultaneously drop thousands of acorns in a coordinated burst of energy. This synchronous event is an evolutionary survival strategy known as predator satiation, designed to overwhelm the appetites of seed eaters like squirrels and jays. By providing more food than the local animal population can possibly consume, the oaks ensure that a surplus of acorns remains untouched to germinate in the spring. Scientists at institutions like the University of Oxford have observed that these events are often triggered by specific weather patterns, such as a dry, warm spring followed by a wet summer. Current research suggests that trees communicate through underground mycorrhizal networks to time these massive energy expenditures with precision. These networks allow trees to share carbon and chemical signals across the forest floor, effectively acting as a collective nervous system for the woodland. In the heart of Sherwood Forest, the major oak stands as a living monument to this incredible biological resilience. Estimated to be between 800 and 1,000 years old, its massive limbs are so heavy they now require physical supports to remain upright. Legend suggests that Robin Hood used its hollow trunk as a hideout, a testament to the immense scale and utility these trees provide to the human and animal worlds alike. Across Europe, other specimens like the Eisenach oak in Germany showcase the sheer volume of biomass a single organism can accumulate over 10 centuries. The English oak specifically supports more life than any other native tree species in the British Isles, with over 2,300 associated species identified by ecologists. Among these, nearly 350 species are considered obligate, meaning they cannot survive without the specific conditions provided by an oak tree. Lichens, mosses, and liverworts find specialized niches on the deeply fissured bark, which traps moisture and nutrient-rich dust. The tannins found in oak leaves and bark serve as a powerful chemical defense against most herbivores, yet certain gall wasps have evolved to manipulate the tree's hormones to create protective nurseries for their young. Even in death, a fallen oak provides a decades-long feast for detritivores, slowly returning its stored minerals to the soil to nourish the next generation of saplings. This cycle ensures that the architect of the forest continues to build life long after its own biological pulse has faded into the earth. While the oak dominates the temperate north, the sun-drenched coastlines of the Mediterranean host the Olea europea, a tree that defies the linear logic of time through its chaotic and twisted architecture. Unlike the straight, vertical ambition of many forest giants, an ancient olive tree grows in a slow, swirling delirium, its trunk often splitting into multiple sinewy strands that braid around a hollow center. This distinctive gnarled appearance is a physiological response to centuries of surviving harsh, rocky soils and intense ultraviolet exposure. These trees do not merely grow, they endure, folding their bark over wounds and incorporating scars into their very structural integrity. On the island of Crete stands the olive tree of Vouvs, a specimen estimated by scientists at the University of Crete to be between 2,000 and 4,000 years old. Despite its hollowed, cavernous interior, this living monument continues to produce a harvest of olives every year, demonstrating a level of biological persistence that challenges our understanding of senescence. The tree's vitality is partly due to the remarkable resilience of its root crown, which possesses the ability to regenerate entire trunk systems even if the visible portion of the tree is destroyed by fire or frost. This subterranean reservoir of life allows the olive to emerge from the ashes of a wildfire, sending up fresh shoots that carry the same genetic blueprint as the ancestor that stood there millennia prior. Humans have acted as partners in this longevity since the Roman era, utilizing sophisticated grafting techniques to preserve specific, high-quality varieties across generations. By joining a productive scion to a hardy rootstock, ancient farmers ensured that the unique flavors and oil profiles of their best trees would survive the death of the original individual. This practice has created a living bridge across human history, where a tree you might see today could be a direct clonal descendant of one tended by a Roman orchardist. The thick, leathery leaves of these trees are specifically adapted to prevent moisture loss, featuring a silver-colored underside that reflects sunlight and reduces the internal temperature of the canopy. Do you find yourself more drawn to the silver-green shimmer of a coastal grove or the deep, shadowed stillness of an inland forest as you listen? The olive's wood is incredibly dense and rich in oils, which provides a natural chemical defense against many common pathogens and wood-boring insects. This chemical armor, combined with the tree's slow metabolic rate, allows it to withstand the centuries with a quiet, unyielding grace. Even in extreme old age, The olive tree remains a functional part of the ecosystem, its twisted crevices providing a labyrinthine habitat for rare lichens, insects, and small reptiles that depend on the stable microclimate found within its ancient, corky bark. High above the Mediterranean, the cedars of Lebanon, or Cedrus libani, represent a botanical lineage that has shaped human civilization since the Bronze Age. These trees once formed a vast, aromatic canopy across the mountains of the Levant, providing the primary construction material for the Temple of Solomon and the resilient hulls of Phoenician merchant ships. Today, only a few isolated groves remain, such as the Forest of the Cedars of God, where individual specimens have survived for over 1,000 years despite the harsh, snowy winters of the high altitudes. The durability of their wood is not accidental. It is the result of a high concentration of essential oils that act as a potent preservative, preventing the cellular breakdown that usually claims trees of such great age. In the temperate rainforests of Japan's Yakushima Island, the Cryptomeria japonica reaches an even more profound level of endurance, specifically in the form of the Jaman-sugi. This ancient giant, discovered in 1966, possesses a trunk circumference of over 16 meters and is estimated by researchers at Nagoya University to be thousands of years old. The tree thrives in an environment where annual rainfall can exceed 10,000 millimeters, a condition that would lead to rapid fungal rot in almost any other species. To combat this, the Cryptomeria produces exceptionally high levels of resin, which permeates the wood and creates a waterproof, antimicrobial barrier. Even when these trees eventually die, their ghost trunks, known as karasuji, can stand for centuries, resisting the elements like stone. The relationship between the Japanese people and the Cryptomeria led to the development of daisugi, a sustainable forestry technique originating in the 14th century. By carefully pruning a specially selected mother tree, foresters encourage the growth of perfectly straight, vertical shoots that resemble a dense thicket of poles growing from a single base. This allows for the harvesting of high-quality timber every few decades without the need to clear-cut the forest or kill the primary organism. Have you ever felt a deep sense of peace while walking through a stand of ancient, fragrant evergreens? This method preserves the ancient root systems and the surrounding soil health, maintaining a continuous forest cover that protects against erosion. The chemical signature of these trees is dominated by cedral and thajopsine, compounds that serve as both a repellent for wood-boring beetles and a stabilizer for the wood's structural integrity. These phytoncides are released into the air as the tree breathes, contributing to the distinct, grounding aroma of the forest and providing a natural defense against airborne pathogens. Because the oil is so deeply integrated into the heartwood, the protection remains active long after the tree has been converted into lumber. This biological mastery of chemistry allows the cedars and Cryptomeria to persist in environments that would consume lesser organisms, standing as living pillars of time. Beneath these standing giants, a silent architectural feat unfolds within the earth itself. The forest floor serves as a massive, subterranean vault where carbon is harvested from the atmosphere and locked away for millennia. Unlike younger plantations, old-growth forests possess soil horizons that have been building since the last glacial retreat. Every needle, twig, and flake of bark that falls to the ground represents a tiny deposit into a terrestrial bank. As this organic matter compresses over centuries, it forms a dense, carbon-rich humus that reaches depths far greater than previously estimated by early 20th century ecology. When a titan eventually falls, its service to the forest does not end with its last breath. These fallen bodies become nurse logs, acting as massive biological sponges that retain thousands of gallons of water during dry seasons. Seedlings of hemlock and spruce often find their only chance for survival on the mossy backs of these ancestors. The log provides a steady, slow-release supply of nitrogen and phosphorus that bypasses the competitive root mats of the forest floor. Have you ever noticed how some trees in a forest seem to grow in a perfectly straight line, as if planted by hand? This phenomenon is often the ghost of a nurse log long since decayed, which provided the elevated platform for an entire generation of siblings to reach the light. Recent data published in 2024 and throughout 2025 has revolutionized our understanding of these deep soil layers. Researchers utilizing advanced isotope tracing have discovered that ancient forests store significantly more carbon in the B and C soil horizons than was previously modeled in global climate simulations. This deep tier sequestration is remarkably stable, shielded from the immediate fluctuations of surface temperature and weather. Studies from late 2024 indicate that the microbial communities at these depths are specialized in breaking down complex lignins, a process that takes centuries to complete. This slow-motion metabolism ensures that the forest remains a net carbon sink even during periods of significant environmental stress. The stability of this ecosystem loop relies on the sheer volume of dead wood present in various stages of decay. This necromass acts as a thermal blanket, regulating the temperature of the soil and protecting the delicate mycorrhizal networks from the shock of winter frost. By recycling nutrients over such vast timescales, the forest creates a self-sustaining microclimate that is largely independent of the surrounding landscape. The interplay between the decaying wood and the living roots creates a chemical dialogue that has persisted, uninterrupted, for 10,000 years. In early 2025, a landmark study demonstrated that the root exudates of ancient trees can influence soil chemistry up to 30 meters below the surface. This means the influence of an old-growth tree extends far deeper into the bedrock than the length of its visible branches. The interaction between these deep roots and the mineral soil facilitates a process called carbon occlusion, where organic molecules become physically trapped within clay particles. Once occluded, this carbon is effectively removed from the biological cycle for thousands of years, providing a natural buffer that anchors the stability of the planet's atmosphere. The architecture of an ancient forest serves as a complex acoustic filter, where the chaotic arrangement of centuries-old growth creates a phenomenon known as sound scattering. Unlike the uniform rows of a commercial timber lot, the erratic spacing of multi-generational trees prevents sound waves from traveling in straight lines. Large, buttressed roots and crooked trunks act as physical baffles, breaking up low-frequency rumbles before they can penetrate the deep interior. This structural complexity results in a sonic environment that is remarkably consistent, shielding the inner sanctum from the outside world. Have you ever noticed how the air feels heavier and more still the deeper you walk into a grove of giants? This perceived stillness is actually the result of extreme acoustic absorption by the forest floor and the surfaces of the trees themselves. Mosses, which often carpet the ground and climb the bark in old-growth systems, are among nature's most efficient sound-dampening materials due to their high surface area-to-volume ratio. Their porous mats trap air molecules, converting sound energy into tiny amounts of heat through friction. Similarly, the thick, corky bark of elder trees, often several inches deep, lacks the reflective properties of younger, smoother stems, ensuring that the forest remains a dead-air space. This dampening allows the biological sounds of the ecosystem, or the biophony, to take center stage without the interference of reverberation. In these environments, every species occupies its own acoustic niche, a specific frequency range that allows its signals to be heard clearly by others. The diversity of the soundscape is directly proportional to the biodiversity of the forest itself, as researchers at institutions like the Cornell Lab of Ornithology have noted when tracking ecosystem health. If you find value in these quiet insights into the natural world, subscribing helps us continue documenting the hidden mechanisms of the earth. Beyond the audible, trees interact with their acoustic environment through mechanoreception, using specialized cells to detect physical vibrations in the air and soil. When human-generated noise pollution, such as the distant drone of a highway or the roar of aircraft, invades these spaces, it triggers a stress response in the plants. Constant exposure to these unnatural frequencies can disrupt the tree's internal signaling, leading to increased levels of stress-related chemical markers. This acoustic interference can even alter the way a tree manages its water transport, as the vibrations are sensed as a form of mechanical touch. The forest, therefore, does not just house sound. It experiences it as a physical force that shapes its very survival. The sensitivity of a tree extends far below the surface, descending into the microscopic architecture of the root tips where the true intelligence of the organism resides. This specific region, known as the transition zone, was famously highlighted by Charles Darwin in his 1880 treatise on plant movement, where he proposed the root-brain hypothesis. He suggested that the apex of a root acts similarly to the brain of a lower animal, receiving impressions from the senses and directing several kinds of motion. These tiny terminals process a constant stream of sensory input, calculating the most efficient path through the subterranean darkness to reach hidden pockets of moisture or essential minerals. While we often perceive plants as passive or stationary organisms, they are actually deeply attuned to the fundamental forces of the universe, particularly the relentless pull of gravity. Through a process called gravitropism, trees utilize specialized cells called statocytes containing dense starch grains known as statoliths. These microscopic stones settle toward the lowest point of a cell, providing the tree with a definitive sense of down and up, ensuring that roots descend into the safety of the earth while shoots ascend toward the sun with mathematical precision. Do you ever find yourself wondering if the ancient oaks in your local park are aware of your presence as you walk by? This physical awareness is complemented by an intricate mastery of light, where trees use photoreceptors like phytochromes and cryptochromes to measure not just the intensity of brightness, but the specific ratio of red to far red light. This allows a sapling to detect if it is being shaded by a larger competitor and adjust its growth pattern accordingly, a phenomenon known as the shade avoidance response. If a branch is damaged or a leaf is torn by a passing animal, the tree does not remain silent. It triggers a cascade of electrical signals that travel through its vascular tissue at surprising speeds. These signals, which bear a striking resemblance to the action potentials found in animal nervous systems, rely on the movement of ions across cell membranes. Research published in the journal Science has shown that trees utilize glutamate, the same neurotransmitter used in the human brain, to propagate these warning signals across their entire structure. When one part of the tree is under attack by a pathogen or an herbivore, these electrical impulses warn distant tissues to bolster their chemical defenses, producing tannins or volatile compounds before the threat even arrives. The existence of such sophisticated internal communication has sparked a rigorous debate within the scientific community regarding the nature of plant neurobiology. Some researchers, such as Monica Gagliano, have demonstrated that plants can learn through habituation and associate certain stimuli with rewards, suggesting a form of decentralized intelligence. Others maintain a more conservative stance, viewing these reactions as highly evolved, programmed adaptive behaviors that lack a subjective internal experience. Regardless of where the line is drawn, the evidence suggests that trees are active participants in a sensory dialogue with their surroundings. The integration of these various inputs, sound vibrations, gravity, light quality, and electrical impulses, paints a picture of a living entity that is constantly evaluating its environment. This sensory processing allows an ancient tree to survive for centuries in a fixed location, solving complex problems that would be insurmountable for a more mobile creature. As the sun dips below the horizon, these immobile giants enter a state that closely resembles human sleep, marked by a physical relaxation of their entire structure. You might notice that a tree's silhouette looks different under the moonlight, and this is because many species actually lower their branches as the light fades. In a landmark study conducted in 2016 by researchers from Austria, Finland, and Hungary, terrestrial laser scanners were used to monitor silver birch trees throughout the night. This technology revealed that the tips of the branches drooped by as much as 10 centimeters as the evening progressed, reaching their lowest point just before sunrise. This nocturnal sag is not a result of fatigue or exhaustion, but a deliberate change in turgor pressure within the plant cells. When the drive for photosynthesis ceases, the tree redistributes its internal fluids, allowing the limbs to settle into a more relaxed posture until the first rays of dawn trigger a reinflation of the tissues. It is a slow-motion stretching and settling that defines the tree's nightly experience. This rhythmic movement is governed by an internal circadian clock that operates even in the absence of external light cues, mirroring the biological rhythms found in animals. While we rest, the tree shifts its metabolic focus from the demanding work of carbon fixation to the vital tasks of cellular respiration and structural growth. During the day, the stomata, the microscopic pores on the surface of the leaves, remain open to take in carbon dioxide, but this necessary intake causes the tree to lose significant amounts of internal water through transpiration. At night, most trees close these pores to conserve moisture, creating a period of internal hydration and cellular repair. Have you ever stood in a silent forest at midnight and wondered if the trees around you were truly aware of your presence? The influence of the moon extends beyond simple illumination, as its gravitational pull and subtle light cycles affect the very pulse of the sap. Specific research indicates that tree diameters actually fluctuate in sync with the lunar tides, a phenomenon driven by the moon's effect on the water columns moving through the vascular system. Even the dim glow of a full moon provides enough of a signal for some species to regulate their flowering or growth spurts, suggesting a sensitivity to light levels far below our own visual threshold. This temporal awareness ensures that the tree is perfectly synchronized with the planet's rotation, optimizing every second of the 24-hour cycle. As the night deepens, the forest does not simply go dark, it breathes in a slower, more rhythmic cadence that prepares every leaf and root for the energetic demands of the coming sunrise. Beyond the daily cycle of light and breath, we have recently pierced the veil of the tree's internal blueprint through the most sophisticated genomic sequencing ever attempted. In the last 2 years, researchers have finally mapped the staggering complexity of conifer DNA, which often dwarfs the human genome by a factor of 10. The sugar pine, for instance, carries a genetic code so vast and repetitive that it was previously impossible to assemble with any functional accuracy. By 2025, however, advancements in long-read sequencing technologies allowed scientists to identify specific gene clusters responsible for the incredible longevity and chemical defenses of these giants. This massive volume of data reveals that trees do not just exist in their environment. They carry a functional library of evolutionary responses curated over hundreds of millions of years. We used to believe that an organism's DNA was a fixed, uniform script throughout its entire body. Yet, groundbreaking studies published in early 2025 have confirmed that ancient trees are actually genetic mosaics. As a tree grows upward and outward over centuries, the cells in distant branches accumulate their own unique somatic mutations. This means a 1,000-year-old limb on the north side of a Douglas fir may possess a slightly different genetic sequence than a branch on the south side. These mutations are not errors. They represent a decentralized form of evolution occurring within a single living individual. Do you remember climbing a tree as a child and wondering how long those specific branches had been reaching for the sky? This internal diversity allows an ancient tree to act as a living laboratory, testing different genetic variations in real time across its massive canopy. This internal diversity is mirrored by an even more subtle system of biological memory known as epigenetics. Recent observations recorded through 2024 and 2025 have shown that trees encode their experiences of environmental stress directly onto their DNA through chemical markers like methylation. When a mother tree survives a prolonged period of intense heat or severe drought, she doesn't just survive, she prepares her offspring for a similar fate. These epigenetic tags are passed down to the seeds, preconfiguring the next generation to be more resilient to the specific climate challenges the parent faced. This discovery fundamentally changes our understanding of forest adaptation, suggesting that trees possess a form of transgenerational wisdom that does not require changes to the underlying genetic code. Our ability to interact with this code has reached a pivotal moment with the integration of CRISPR technology and ancient DNA recovery. Throughout 2025, scientists have been working on a process known as trait resurrection. By extracting genetic material from herbarium samples and even fossilized remains, researchers are identifying lost alleles that once provided immunity to diseases that now ravage modern forests. We are no longer limited to the survivors of the present. We can now reach back into the archives of the past to reintroduce lost resistances to blight and pests. This is particularly evident in the high-precision efforts to restore the American chestnut, where CRISPR is being used to weave ancestral fungal resistance back into the very fabric of the species. This technological bridge between the ancient past and the present day ensures that the genetic legacy of these giants remains unbroken, even as the world around them changes with unprecedented speed. These genomic discoveries provide a sense of hope as we realize that the capacity for recovery is often already written into the tree's own deep history. The height of these giants is not determined by age or ambition, but by the rigid and unchanging laws of physics. Gravity is the ultimate ceiling for biological growth on Earth, exerting a constant downward pull that every upward-reaching cell must counteract. The hydraulic limitation hypothesis suggests that the sheer vertical distance a tree must transport water creates a massive resistance that eventually becomes insurmountable. Water moves through the xylem, the tree's internal plumbing, via a process called the tension-cohesion mechanism, where evaporation at the leaf surface pulls a continuous chain of water molecules upward. As a tree grows taller, the tension required to pull this water column hundreds of feet into the air increases significantly. Eventually, this tension reaches a breaking point where the water column can snap, leading to the formation of air bubbles known as embolisms. These blockages are essentially heart attacks for a tree's vascular system, preventing any further nutrient transport to the upper canopy. To avoid these fatal disruptions, the tree must close its stomata, the microscopic pores in the leaves that allow for gas exchange. While closing these pores saves water, it also halts the intake of carbon dioxide, which effectively starves the top of the tree of the raw materials needed for photosynthesis. Do you remember the tallest tree you ever climbed as a child, and how much larger the world seemed from that small elevation? Beyond the challenges of plumbing, the carbon balance hypothesis offers a complementary explanation for why trees stop growing. Height is an incredibly expensive investment in terms of energy and resources. A tree must divert a significant portion of its daily sugar production into building thick, lignin-reinforced wood and maintaining living tissue across a massive surface area. The metabolic cost of simply staying alive increases with every foot of height added to the trunk. At a certain point, the energy produced by the leaves at the very top is entirely consumed by the task of transporting that energy back down and maintaining the structural integrity of the wood. When the energy cost of adding 1 more inch of height exceeds the energy gain from new leaves, the tree reaches its physiological maximum. Mechanical stability also plays a decisive role in defining the skyline. The Euler buckling limit is a principle of structural engineering that dictates how tall a vertical column can be before it collapses under its own weight. For a tree to continue growing taller, its base must widen at an exponentially increasing rate to maintain a safe center of gravity. This is complicated by wind loads, which act as a lever against the tree's height. A taller tree experiences much greater torque at its base during a storm. Scientists studying the physics of wood have found that most ancient trees are actually over-engineered for stability, yet they remain tethered to the earth by the weight of their own crowns. Current atmospheric pressure and the strength of Earth's gravity suggest a hard biological limit of approximately 420 feet. While we may never see a 500-foot tree under our current planetary conditions, the giants we do have represent the absolute edge of what organic life can achieve against the relentless pull of the world. Because these living monuments face unprecedented environmental shifts, humanity has begun constructing a biological insurance policy deep within the permafrost of the Arctic Circle. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault, often called the Doomsday Vault, houses millions of seeds, including critical forest species, preserved at a constant -18 degrees Celsius. This facility acts as a final safeguard against the loss of genetic diversity, ensuring that even if a specific ecosystem collapses, the blueprint for its recovery remains frozen in time. While many associate these vaults with food crops, The inclusion of wild tree species is a recognition of their role as the foundation of terrestrial life. The concept of assisted migration has moved from a theoretical framework to a practical necessity as climates shift faster than trees can naturally disperse their seeds. Foresters and ecologists are now identifying ancient genotypes that have survived for millennia and physically moving their offspring to cooler, higher latitudes where they are more likely to thrive in the coming decades. This proactive strategy assumes that the historical range of a species is no longer its safest haven. It is a delicate balance, as introducing a species to a new area can alter local soil chemistry and fungal networks in ways we are still learning to quantify. The sheer resilience of a seed is perhaps most poignantly demonstrated by the Judean date palm, a tree that was once thought to be extinct for over 800 years. Archaeologists discovered a cache of seeds at the Masada fortress, and against all expectations, one of those 2,000-year-old seeds germinated in 2005. Named Methuselah, this tree is a living bridge to the ancient world, proving that the spark of life can remain dormant but viable for 20 centuries. Does the thought of a plant waiting 2,000 years to wake up change how you perceive the pace of the natural world? In tandem with seed banking, organizations like the Archangel Ancient Tree Archive are pursuing the ambitious goal of cloning the world's champion trees. These are the largest and oldest individuals of each species, possessing genetic sequences that have withstood countless droughts, pests, and storms. By taking vegetative cuttings and utilizing tissue culture, scientists are creating genetic identicals of redwoods and sequoias that have lived for 3,000 years. These clones are then planted in protected groves, effectively backing up the hard-earned biological wisdom of our planet's eldest residents. This process does not just preserve a species. It preserves the specific individuals that have already proven their ability to endure the greatest tests of time and change. Maintaining these sentinels becomes a complex feat of engineering when they are surrounded by the concrete and steel of a modern metropolis. In the urban landscape, the greatest threat to an ancient tree is often invisible, occurring beneath the pavement where soil compaction suffocates the delicate network of fine roots. Engineers now utilize specialized supersonic air tools to loosen the earth without damaging the bark, creating what is known as a critical root zone. This protected radius ensures that the weight of the city does not crush the pore spaces required for oxygen and water to reach the depths. Have you ever noticed a particularly grand tree standing in the middle of a busy sidewalk and wondered how it survived the construction around it? Recent shifts in international law throughout 2025 and into early 2026 have begun to recognize these heritage trees not as mere property, but as entities with legal personhood. This transition allows advocates to file lawsuits on behalf of the tree itself, ensuring its right to sunlight and soil remains protected against encroaching high-rises. In places like Panama and certain districts in Spain, this legal framework is being used to prevent the removal of trees that have witnessed centuries of human history. Beyond the legalities, the physiological impact of these ancient beings on the human nervous system is profound. Studies published in various environmental psychology journals have shown that the fractal patterns of an old-growth canopy can lower cortisol levels more effectively than younger, more uniform forests. The presence of a legacy tree in an urban neighborhood is consistently linked to lower rates of respiratory distress and improved cardiovascular health for residents living within its immediate cooling shadow. The cooling effect of a single ancient oak can be equivalent to several industrial-sized air conditioning units running simultaneously, significantly mitigating the urban heat island effect. To manage these giants, arborists now use sonic tomography, sending sound waves through the trunk to create a digital cross-section that detects internal decay without harming the living tissue. This allows city planners to stabilize heavy limbs with dynamic cabling systems, which support the tree's weight while still allowing it to sway naturally in the wind. Such movement is vital for strengthening the wood through a process called thigmomorphogenesis. By integrating these biological requirements into our urban designs, we are moving toward a future where the built environment wraps around the natural one, rather than erasing it. These efforts reflect a growing realization that an ancient tree is a living library of local climate data, carrying the chemical memory of every drought and flood the city has ever endured. When we protect an urban ancient, we are preserving the only living witness to our own collective past. The influence of these giants extends far beyond the soil they inhabit, fundamentally altering the chemistry of the atmosphere itself. Through a process known as evapotranspiration, a single mature canopy can circulate thousands of gallons of water back into the air every year. This moisture does not simply vanish. It cools the surrounding landscape, creating localized microclimates where the temperature remains significantly lower than in nearby cleared land. This cooling effect is so pronounced that researchers have observed its vital role in mitigating regional heat waves, acting as a natural air conditioning system for the planet. Beyond cooling, the forest floor acts as a massive biological sponge, where deep root systems and complex mycelial networks filter rainwater, removing pollutants before the water reaches underground aquifers. There is a fascinating and rigorously studied concept known as the biotic pump theory, which suggests that massive, continuous tracts of old-growth forest drive the hydrological cycles of entire continents. By releasing vast amounts of water vapor and volatile organic compounds, these forests create a low-pressure system that draws moist air from the oceans deep into the interior of a landmass. Without these ancient coastal corridors, many inland regions would eventually succumb to desertification as the chain of moisture transport breaks. This process is further aided by the release of fungal spores and leaf chemicals, which serve as cloud condensation nuclei, essentially allowing the forest to seed its own rain. Do you remember the specific, heavy scent of the air in a deep forest just after a summer storm? The genetic architecture found within an old-growth system is a curated archive of survival strategies developed over millennia. Unlike the trees found in commercial nurseries, these ancients possess rare genetic variants that have allowed them to survive specific pathogens and shifts in climate that occurred centuries ago. This reservoir of diversity acts as a biological insurance policy for the planet, providing the raw material for adaptation in a world where environmental conditions are shifting faster than many species can keep up with. Within these spaces, every leaf and root tip contains data points for resilience that cannot be replicated in a laboratory setting. This is often referred to as epigenetic memory, where the experiences of a tree are passed down through chemical markers to help the next generation withstand similar stressors. It is a common misconception that planting a row of saplings is equivalent to replacing a lost forest. A timber plantation is often a monoculture, a grid of genetically identical trees of the same age, which lacks the structural and biological complexity of a natural ecosystem. While a plantation may sequester carbon, it often functions as a biological desert, missing the intricate layers of decaying wood, diverse fungi, and specialized niches that define true old growth. Real forests are messy and chaotic, featuring a vertical complexity that supports thousands of species from the subterranean floor to the highest reaches of the emergent layer. This distinction is vital because a plantation focuses on a single crop, whereas an ancient forest focuses on the persistence of an entire living community. The survival of an ancient tree is not merely a matter of biological luck, but a feat of specialized engineering that spans entire epochs. While a human life is measured in decades, a Great Basin bristlecone pine operates on a timeline that makes our modern civilizations seem like fleeting shadows. These trees possess a unique ability known as sectorial senescence, a process where they allow specific parts of their vascular system to die off during periods of extreme drought or environmental stress to ensure the core remains viable. This allows a single strip of living bark to support a few green needles for centuries after the rest of the tree has been stripped to silvered wood. By the end of 2025, advancements in genetic sequencing confirmed that these ancient organisms do not experience senescence in the same way animals do, as their cells show remarkably few signs of mutational load despite thousands of years of replication. Standing beside a living being that was already 1,000 years old when the Great Pyramid of Giza was being constructed provides a humbling perspective on our place in the natural order. These individuals are the ultimate archivists, recording every volcanic eruption, every prolonged drought, and every shift in atmospheric chemistry within the microscopic layers of their growth rings. Dendrochronology has revealed that ancient trees across the northern hemisphere captured the exact chemical signature of the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, preserving a global climate catastrophe in a circle of wood. The structural integrity of an old-growth forest is maintained by the sheer physical presence of these giants, whose deep root systems anchor entire mountainsides against the erosion of time. Even in death, an ancient tree serves a vital function as a nurse log, a decaying horizontal pillar that provides a steady release of nitrogen and phosphorus to the forest floor for over a century. This continuity of life ensures that the forest is never truly starting over, but rather building upon a foundation of accumulated nutrients and fungal memory. Research published in late 2024 emphasized that the carbon stored in the massive trunks and extensive root systems of ancient forests is far more stable than the carbon sequestered by young, fast-growing plantations. This makes the preservation of existing old-growth stands one of the most effective tools for maintaining the current balance of the Earth's atmosphere. As we look toward the future of our planet, the stewardship of these remaining watchers becomes a responsibility of generational significance. Do you find yourself more drawn to the jagged, wind-sculpted giants of the high mountains or the moss-covered elders of the damp coastal rainforests? Each environment has produced its own version of immortality, adapted to the specific pressures of its landscape. To study them is to learn a different way of existing, one defined by stillness, patience, and a deep, literal connection to the ground beneath. If you find peace in the quiet details of the natural world, consider subscribing to join us for more journeys through the sciences. The forest remains a silent witness to the turning of the earth, waiting for the next curious mind to stop and listen to the stories held within the grain.